Many years ago, in the bustling capital city of Lagos, lived a young lady named Edith. Her heart burned passionately for the things of God. She had come to the city a few years earlier, seeking greener pastures, and since then, had been living with her elder brother. Edith was raised in a devout Christian home and spent most of her childhood immersed in church activities. So, when she moved to Lagos, it didn't take her long to locate a Bible-believing church and join its congregation. It wasn't surprising that Edith quickly became known in the church. Her dedication and evident favor from God set her apart. She joined the choir and, within a short time, became a strong member. Every Sunday, Edith's melodious voice would lead the congregation in praise and worship, inspiring many. Her elder brother soon helped her secure a receptionist job at a reputable firm. For a while, everything seemed to be going smoothly for Edith. But then, she began attracting attention from suitors. Edith was a beauty, inside and out. Her physical appearance was striking, and her inner beauty shone even brighter. This unique combination drew people to her like a magnet. Edith's charm didn't just win her admirers, it also brought her favor. She often got free rides to work, unexpected lunches, and even cash gifts from both acquaintances and strangers. It was clear that she carried a rare grace. One day, during one of these favored moments, Edith met Hugo. He was a handsome young man who had come to her office to see the manager. Edith attended to him politely, as usual. Just before he left, he handed her a small gift, thanking her for her professionalism. The next day, Hugo returned. This time, he wasn't there to see the manager, he was there for Edith. "Good morning, Mr. Hugo," Edith greeted, surprised but still smiling. "How are you today?" Hugo asked warmly, his smile widening. "I'm very fine, sir. Would you like to see the manager again?" Edith replied politely, masking her curiosity. "No," Hugo said, shaking his head. "I came to see you today. It's just a casual visit. I couldn't stop thinking about our encounter yesterday, and I decided to come satisfy my curiosity, if you don't mind." Edith's smile grew softer, and she nodded. "That's fine." They ended up talking for a while, and by the end of their conversation, a silent connection had formed between them. Hugo, as it turned out, was a junior pastor in a nearby church. Their shared faith and values made the budding friendship feel natural. Hugo extended a hand of friendship to Edith, and she accepted, confident that his intentions were pure. From that day on, Hugo began calling Edith frequently. Their conversations were warm and full of laughter. Occasionally, he would surprise her at work with a thoughtfully packed lunch. Their friendship grew sweeter by the day, with both of them maintaining mutual respect and honoring their boundaries. Meanwhile, Edith's service in her church remained unwavering. One Sunday, after a particularly spirited service, Edith stepped out of the church building, where she encountered another young man named Emma. Emma had developed a habit of approaching Edith after church services. He would compliment her on various things, her singing, her smile, or the way she carried herself. At first, Edith thought nothing of it. It felt like harmless admiration. But as the weeks went by, Emma started bringing her small gifts, which raised Edith's suspicions. She began to wonder if Emma's intentions went beyond friendly gestures. It wasn't until months later that Emma made his intentions clear. One Sunday afternoon, after service, he asked Edith if she would join him for lunch. Though slightly surprised, Edith agreed. They settled into a quiet corner of a local restaurant, and as they ate, Emma seemed to be working up the courage to say something. He paused mid-bite, cleared his throat, and looked at her with an intensity that made her stop chewing. "Edith," he began, his tone serious, "I know you might be wondering why I brought you out here. Well, I believe it's time I open my heart to you. I've known you for a while now, and I don't need anyone to tell me you're an angel. But what I didn't realize until recently is that you're the angel meant for me." Edith blinked, her fork frozen midair. "What? What do you mean? She asked, her voice steady but filled with curiosity. Emma took a deep breath and continued, I've been praying seriously to God for months, asking Him to guide me to my life partner, the woman who is my bone of bones and flesh of my flesh. Each time I pray, I see you. In my dreams, you're standing in white, smiling at me. At first, I didn't want to jump to conclusions, so I waited. But for the past few weeks, the visions have become clearer. I see you singing, and when I join you, the heavens open in a way I can't describe. It's a sign that this union is perfect. He leaned forward, his eyes soft yet intense. Edith, I don't want to delay any longer. You are the one God has chosen for me. I want you to be my wife. Edith's heart raced, and she swallowed hard. Brother Emma, she stammered, her thoughts spinning. Thank you for telling me this, but I'll have to pray about it. I need time to hear from God myself. Later that evening, as Edith lay on her bed, her mind was a whirlwind of thoughts. Just the day before, Hugo had proposed to her, and she had given him the same response, that she would pray about it. Now, Emma had done the same. This is going to be really hard, she murmured, covering her face with her hands. Hugo is a good man, a young pastor with strong values and a bright future. But Emma, even though he doesn't have Hugo's good looks, his heart is kind, and he's been dedicated to the church for as long as I can remember. She sighed deeply, her voice barely a whisper. Oh God, I'm so confused. I don't want to make a mistake with my life. Please, direct me. Help me choose the right person. Open my eyes to see your will for me. Edith prayed fervently that night, pouring out her heart to God. But even after praying, she felt she needed more guidance. The next morning, she decided to seek counsel from two people she trusted most, her church pastor and her elder brother, Obi. She went to the pastor with the full names and photographs of Hugo and Emma. After listening to her concerns, the pastor assured her, I will pray over these names and get back to you with whatever God reveals. His calm reassurance gave Edith a bit of relief. That evening, she confided in her elder brother. Obi listened intently, his face lighting up with a teasing smile. Oh, so you're now a big girl, eh? Two suitors at once, he teased, but then his tone turned serious. It's good news, but it's also a very delicate matter. Marriage is a lifetime journey. It can either make or break you. Only a few people get it right. Obi leaned forward, his voice filled with wisdom. Yes, both men are serious churchgoers, but you must remember something. Jesus warned us that there are wolves among sheep. The tricky part is that it's hard to tell them apart. That's why I'm not easily swayed when someone says they met their fiancé in church or at a crusade. The devil plants his agents everywhere, especially in the church. He placed a comforting hand on Edith's shoulder. So, this is what we'll do. We'll keep praying, but we'll also use the wisdom God has given us. Pray, observe, and take your time. The right choice will become clear. Edith's brother, Obi, leaned back in his chair with a thoughtful expression. I want to see both men first, he said firmly. From there, we'll know what to do. Edith nodded, grateful for his willingness to help. Thank you, brother, she said softly. She wasted no time informing Hugo and Emma about Obi's desire to meet them. The two men chose different dates for their visits, keeping the situation discreet and respectful. Before either man could visit, however, Edith received a call from her church pastor. When she arrived at his office, her heart pounded with nervous anticipation. Sister Edith, you are blessed, the pastor began, his voice calm but serious. I have sought the face of God regarding your situation. Both men are favored in their own ways. However, even before God, there are levels and hierarchies. Edith listened intently, her palms damp with anxiety. Brother Hugo is a pastor, yes, and that is good. But he does not belong to our church. We can only assess him based on what we see on the surface. Remember, the Bible says charm is deceptive. On the outside, Hugo may seem like the obvious choice, but it is not so. The pastor paused for a moment before continuing. Brother Emma, however, is someone we know well. We can vouch for his faith, his dedication, and his character. He has been a true soldier of Christ in this church for years. Sister Edith, in this matter, Brother Emma sits higher in the hierarchy. This is the word from God. Edith's heart raced. Was Emma truly God's choice for her? She thanked the pastor for his guidance but chose to keep his words to herself for the time being. The day of Hugo's visit to Obi arrived quickly. Edith couldn't help but feel a mix of anticipation and nervousness. When Hugo walked into their home, his confidence and charm filled the room. To Edith's surprise, he and Obi got along immediately, chatting and laughing as if they had been friends for years. Obi asked Hugo a series of questions about his work, his faith, and his future plans. Hugo answered smoothly, his words filled with sincerity. By the time he left, Obi leaned back in his chair, clearly impressed. That young man has a good soul, Obi said, his voice filled with conviction. You know I have a very sharp discerning spirit, it's a gift from the Holy Spirit. I can tell you that Hugo would make a good husband for you. But I won't jump to conclusions until I meet the second man. Edith nodded slowly, but the pastor's earlier words echoed in her mind, charm is deceptive. Was her brother captivated by Hugo's good looks and engaging personality? There was no doubt that Hugo was a fine man, but she knew that outward appearance wasn't what truly mattered. She decided to wait until Emma's visit before forming any conclusions. A few days later, Emma arrived. He was warmly received by Obi, just as Hugo had been. However, the dynamic was entirely different. Emma's gentle demeanor made him a man of few words. He spoke cautiously and lacked the natural charm that Hugo exuded. Edith watched as Obi tried to engage Emma in conversation, but the exchanges didn't flow as smoothly. Emma's appearance was also starkly different from Hugo's. He lacked a polished and confident aura that made Hugo so striking. But Edith reminded herself that appearances and first impressions could be misleading. She didn't want to judge Emma based on his looks or quiet nature. However, Obi's sharp discernment worked differently. After Emma left, he called Edith to his side. His face was serious, his tone grave. Edith, he began, is this the man you said attends your church? Yes, she replied cautiously, sensing that something was troubling him. My spirit senses something strange in him, Obi said, shaking his head. He is not who he seems to be. I'm afraid if you end up with him, you might regret it. Edith froze, her mind swelling with doubt and confusion. Could her brother be right? Had she missed something about Emma that only Obi's discerning spirit could detect? Or was this a test to trust her own connection with God's guidance? Edith felt her heart tighten as her brother's words sank in. Brother, why would you say something like that? Is it because Emma isn't as outspoken or as good-looking as you expected? She asked, her voice filled with disbelief. Obi sighed and waved his hand dismissively. Come off that, Edith. You know I'm not superficial. Even if I wanted to be, my spirit wouldn't let me. That man's spirit is not aligned with the true spirit. I could sense a strange cloud around him the moment he walked in. He leaned forward, his tone firmer. How would you know for sure when he's among the brethren, blending in like everyone else? I don't want you gambling with your life on this. Delete him from your options. If you don't have any other suitor, that pastor guy, Hugo, is a far better choice for you. Edith stared at her brother in disbelief. Obi was a devout Christian and a respected member of a Bible-believing church, but he wasn't a pastor. How could he claim to know better than her own pastor, who had been a shepherd for years? Brother, I've prayed about this, she said firmly. I also sought counsel from my pastor. From what God revealed to us, Emma is the one He has chosen for me. He's my husband. Obi shot to his feet, his face reddened with frustration. It will take time for you to understand, Edith, but mark my words, Emma is not what he seems. Don't be carried away by his quiet demeanor. He warned you. With that, he stormed out of the room. Edith watched him leave, her chest tightening, but she shook her head and reminded herself of the truth she believed in. God has spoken to me, she whispered to herself. Emma is the one for me. Charm is deceptive, and I won't let myself be swayed by Hugo's charisma. Resolute in her decision, Edith went behind her brother's back and gave Emma her answer. Yes, I will marry you, she told him, her voice steady. At the same time, she informed Hugo of her decision. I'm sorry, but I've chosen someone else, she said gently but firmly. Hugo was devastated. His voice broke as he pleaded, Edith, please reconsider. I promise I'll never disappoint you. I'll be the best husband you could ever hope for. Tears streamed down his face, but Edith's resolve remained unshaken. My decision is final, she replied, though her heart ached for the pain he was feeling. When Obi found out that Edith had gone ahead and accepted Emma's proposal, his reaction was explosive. His rage filled the room like a storm. I will not allow my only sister to ruin her life like this, he thundered. Edith, it's better for you to remain unmarried than to marry Emma. If he's the only man in your life, walk away from him. I've warned you. His voice trembled with raw emotion. If you insist on marrying that man, you will no longer be my sister. I'll cut you off entirely. Don't come back crying to me when things go wrong. Edith's hands trembled as she listened to his outburst. She had never seen Obi so furious, and the thought of losing her brother's support terrified her. Yet, deep within, her faith remained unshaken. Could God have lied to her? She wondered. Could the pastor have been wrong too? The answer came to her like a quiet whisper, no. She took a deep breath and whispered to herself, it's better to disobey man than to disobey God. I'll marry Emma, and one day, my brother will see that he was wrong. But even as she spoke those words, a flicker of worry lingered in her heart. Would her faith truly sustain her through the storm that was to come? Only time would tell. Edith sat quietly beside Emma, her heart heavy as she recounted her brother's refusal to bless their union. Emma listened attentively, his brow furrowed with concern. I didn't expect Obi to take it this far, he said, his voice low. This is troubling, Edith. She reached for his hand, her eyes resolute. Don't worry about Obi, she said softly but firmly. I know this is God's will for us. If we stand together and trust in Him, we'll overcome anything. Let's let the pastor guide us through this. Emma nodded, his worry easing slightly at her conviction. Together, they went to see their pastor. After hearing their plight, the pastor reassured them, prayed fervently over their union, and promised his unwavering support. His words gave Edith newfound strength. She was more determined than ever to push forward. Emma, she said as they left the pastor's office, let's move quickly with the marriage plans. I want to make this official as soon as possible. Emma agreed, and before long, the arrangements were underway. Edith accompanied him to her village to meet her uncles, bypassing her brother entirely. The bride price was paid, and Edith returned to the city as a soon-to-be wife. Knowing she couldn't go back to Obi's house, she stayed with a sister from the church while waiting for her wedding day. Emma worked tirelessly to ensure everything was ready for the ceremony. On the day of their wedding, the church overflowed with people eager to celebrate the union of the beloved sister. Edith. Laughter, music, and joy filled the air. Edith's heart swelled with gratitude as she saw how much love surrounded them. As the ceremony neared its end, Edith's smile faltered momentarily when she spotted Hugo walking toward her. His calm demeanor caught her off guard, and before she could say a word, he extended a wrapped gift to her. Congratulations, Edith, Hugo said warmly. His voice held no bitterness, only sincerity. I can see you're truly happy. I wish you a blissful marriage. Please accept this gift, from one friend to another. Her lips curved into a gentle smile as she accepted the gift. Thank you, Hugo. This means a lot to me. She handed the package to her maid of honor, instructing her to keep it safe. Throughout the rest of the ceremony, Edith's eyes subtly scanned the crowd, hoping for a glimpse of Obi. But he never came. Her heart ached at his absence, but she resolved to move forward. If Obi had chosen to cut ties, she would respect his decision and trust God to mend things in his time. Later, when the celebration had ended, Edith opened the gift Hugo had given her. Inside, she found a beautifully bound Bible and some money. Tears welled up in her eyes as she held the Bible close. Hugo was truly a good man, but she reminded herself once again that he wasn't the one God had chosen for her. She whispered a prayer for him, asking God to bless him with a wife who would bring him joy. After the wedding, Edith moved into Emma's modest home, which was conveniently close to their church. The first month of their marriage felt like a dream. Emma, though quiet by nature, expressed his love through thoughtful actions. As a painter, he shared his earnings generously, always dividing them equally with Edith. He never returned home empty-handed, always bringing her something, no matter how small. Edith felt cherished. She marveled at how attentive Emma was to her needs, often anticipating them before she even voiced them. Her heart swelled with gratitude for the man she had chosen, or rather, the man God had chosen for her. She knew she had made the right decision. Still, there was a small corner of her heart that longed for reconciliation with Obi. She wished he could see how good Emma was as a husband and recognize the joy she had found. But for now, Edith chose to focus on the blessings in her life and continue to enjoy her marriage with unwavering faith. One evening, Emma returned home looking more exhausted than usual. Edith greeted him with a warm smile, but her heart sank at the weariness etched on his face. She had tried her best to adapt to their new living situation, even though it was far from what she had hoped for when they started their life together. Welcome, honey, she said softly as she took his bag. How was work today? Emma sat down heavily on the only chair in their small room, rubbing his temples. It was fine, he replied curtly. I'm just tired. Edith placed a plate of food in front of him, her concern growing. Emma, is everything alright? You've been so distant lately. If there's something bothering you, you can talk to me. Emma waved her off, his tone sharp. I told you everything is fine, Edith. Please, just let me eat in peace. She bit her lip, nodding silently. Over the weeks, their once warm relationship had grown colder. Emma's actions spoke louder than his words. He was clearly burdened, but he refused to share his troubles with her. The thought of him carrying everything alone made her heart ache. The next day, after Emma left for work, Edith sat on their small bed, staring at the cracked ceiling. God, what is happening? She prayed silently. This isn't the marriage I dreamed of. Please help us. Help Emma. Whatever is weighing him down, please show us the way out. When Emma started returning home later and later, Edith's worries deepened. The money he left each morning became even smaller, barely enough for a meal. She found herself stretching every penny, often skipping meals so that Emma could have something to eat when he came home. Despite her struggles, she chose not to complain, trusting that God would intervene. One evening, as Edith was tidying up their small room, she noticed Emma's phone vibrating on the table. A message popped up on the screen. She didn't mean to pry, but the words caught her attention. When are you coming? You've kept me waiting long enough. Her heart skipped a beat. She stared at the message, 1,000 questions flooding her mind. Who could this be? She thought. What does this mean? When Emma walked in moments later, Edith handed him his phone without saying a word. He glanced at the screen, his face tightening, but he said nothing. Emma, she began cautiously, is there something I should know? That message. It's nothing, he interrupted, his voice defensive. Just a client. Stop imagining things, Edith. Her chest tightened. Emma, I'm not accusing you of anything. I just want to understand what's going on. You've changed. We've changed. Please, talk to me. He sighed heavily, avoiding her gaze. Edith, I told you, everything is fine. Just stop worrying so much. But Edith couldn't stop worrying. That night, as she lay beside him, staring at the dark ceiling, her mind raced. God, is this what you meant for me? Is this the man you chose? Her prayers felt heavy, and for the first time, doubt began to creep into her heart. Edith arrived at Mama Chiboy's shop with a heavy heart. She greeted the older woman and sat on the wooden bench near the entrance. Mama Chiboy, a sharp-eyed and kind woman, immediately noticed the sadness on Edith's face. My daughter, what is it? Mama Chiboy asked, leaning closer. You don't look happy today. Edith hesitated for a moment, then let out a deep sigh. Mama, things are not going well at home. Emma hasn't been working much, and there's no money for food. I'm pregnant, and he told me to drink Gary with salt because that's all we have. Mama Chiboy's eyes widened in disbelief. Chai. Gary with salt? And you're carrying his child? My daughter, this is not right. A man should provide for his family, no matter the situation. How can he let you suffer like this? Tears welled up in Edith's eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. I don't know what to do, Mama. I've been praying, but things keep getting worse. I'm thinking of finding something to do, no matter how small, so I can at least buy food. Mama Chiboy nodded approvingly. You're a strong woman, my daughter. That's the right thing to do. Don't wait for him to change, you must take care of yourself and your baby. If you need help, I'm here for you. Encouraged by Mama Chiboy's words, Edith decided to act. Over the next few days, she began helping Mama Chiboy at the shop, sorting goods, attending to customers, and cleaning up. Mama Chiboy paid her a small amount daily, and Edith used it to buy food and other essentials. Though the work was exhausting, Edith felt a sense of relief knowing she could provide for herself and her unborn child. However, her relationship with Emma grew colder. He rarely spoke to her, and when he did, his words were curt and dismissive. Edith tried to hold on to her faith, praying daily for a breakthrough, but doubts crept into her heart. One evening, after a long day at Mama Chiboy's shop, Edith returned home to find Emma sitting idly on the bed. The room was dark, and the air felt heavy. She placed a bag of groceries on the table and turned to him. Emma, she began softly, I've started helping Mama Chiboy at her shop. It's not much, but it's enough to keep us going. Emma looked at her blankly and then shrugged. Do whatever you want, he muttered, lying down and turning his back to her. Edith stared at him, her chest tightening with a mix of frustration and sadness. She had married him believing he was God's choice for her, but now she felt trapped in a life of constant struggle and emotional distance. God, is this really your will? She thought as she sat down, her hands trembling. I need your strength. I can't do this alone. Despite everything, Edith resolved to keep going. For her baby, for her faith, and for the hope that someday, things might get better. The moment Mama Chiboy saw Edith walk into her shop, she noticed something wasn't right. Edith looked exhausted, her shoulders slouched as if the weight of the world rested on them. What is it, my daughter? Mama Chiboy asked, concern etched on her face. Did you quarrel with anyone? Edith hesitated, trying to keep her struggles to herself, but the emotions bubbling inside her were too much to contain. Before she knew it, tears spilled from her eyes. I'm just so tired, Mama, she sobbed. I don't want to complain because it feels too early in my marriage to do so, but this isn't what I signed up for at all. Can you believe my husband cannot even provide food for me, a pregnant woman? He only works once a week and spends the rest of the time sleeping. I had a good job before he made us move from the city to this place. Now, I have nothing, no job, no business, no money. He treats me like he doesn't care. Mama, today I've only had Gary, not even with sugar or milk. Just plain Gary and salt. It's not fair, Edith lamented, her voice trembling with frustration and despair. Mama Chiboi listened attentively, nodding as Edith spoke. She sighed deeply, then stood up and went to a small pot at the back of her shop. She scooped out some rice and stew she had made earlier and handed it to Edith. Here, eat this, Mama Chiboi said gently. I made it this morning, and there's still enough for me and my children. But my daughter, you need to hear me out. You're still new to marriage, and it takes wisdom and patience to navigate these challenges. Now, let me tell you something, she continued. This problem wouldn't have been as big if you had your own job. With your own money, you could look after yourself and not depend entirely on him. Maybe he's acting this way because he knows you have nothing, or maybe he's just overwhelmed himself. Whichever the case, you need to think ahead. Right now, you're pregnant, so most companies or schools won't hire you, and you can't start a business without capital. For now, focus on your health and the babies. After you give birth, you can start making plans for yourself. Have you started buying baby essentials? Mama Chiboi asked, raising her eyebrows. Edith shook her head, looking defeated. What about antenatal care? Mama pressed on, leaning closer. Have you started going to the hospital? Edith's face fell even more. No, Mama. I've been trying to save up for it, she admitted softly. Mama Chiboi's eyes widened in shock. What? You must be joking. Do you want to endanger yourself and your baby? Don't you know antenatal care is critical? If you can't afford a private hospital, go to the government one, they are free. Tomorrow, you must get ready and go to the hospital. You need to be sure that your baby is in good condition. Promise me, Edith. Edith nodded, grateful for Mama Chiboi's concern and guidance. I will, Mama. Thank you. Good. Now eat up and take care of yourself, Mama Chiboi said, patting her on the shoulder. Edith took the food gratefully, silently praying for strength and wisdom to navigate the difficult road ahead. At least now, she didn't feel so alone. Mama Chiboi's advice had given Edith some strength, so she nodded and, after spending a little more time in the shop, returned home. When she got back, Emma was still sleeping. The noise of her movements eventually woke him up. He rubbed his eyes lazily, sat up, and said, "Take this money and go make soup. Make sure it lasts the whole week, so manage it well." He handed her the money without much thought and lay back down. Edith took the crumpled notes from him and, when she counted it, her heart sank. 475 naira. Her mouth fell open in disbelief. She wanted to say something, anything, but the words stuck in her throat. For a long moment, she just stood there, staring at him, her eyes welling up with tears. Without a word, Edith turned around and walked out of the house. She didn't want Emma to see her cry. As soon as she was out of sight, the tears she had been holding back flowed freely. She made her way back to Mama Chiboi's shop and showed her the money, explaining what had happened. Mama Chiboi sighed, shaking her head in disbelief. "My daughter, don't worry. Let's see what we can do with it. You can make it work. It's not easy, but God is your strength." Edith ended up buying crayfish, palm oil, some green vegetables, and plenty of soup thickener. "I'll make a watery soup and thicken it," she thought grimly. As she cooked, her heart felt heavy. She couldn't believe her life had come to this. Even when she lived with her brother Obi, things had never been this bad. Her thoughts drifted to Obi. How is he doing now? She wondered. Probably better than me. I can't even let him know what I'm going through. He would only laugh at me and tell me this is what I deserved. But did I do anything wrong? I only followed God's will for me. Or, did I make a mistake? Did I misunderstand His will? She shook her head, pushing the doubt aside. No, it's too early to think that way. It's not even 6 months since I got married. This must just be normal early marriage struggles. Emma is a good man, he wouldn't treat me badly. I just need to be patient and pray for him more. With those thoughts, her spirit lifted, and she began to sing softly as she cooked. By the time the soup was ready, it was already evening. She prepared a meal and dished out the food. But then, another shock awaited her. Emma asked her to bring another plate. Confused, she brought it, and to her surprise, he divided the soup into 2 portions. Edith watched in silence, unsure of what was happening. Then, Emma brought out a wrapped nylon bag. When he opened it, Edith's eyes widened in shock. It was filled with a large quantity of roasted meat. Honey, is that roasted meat? Real meat? She asked in disbelief. I thought you said you didn't have money. Why didn't you give me this money to buy meat for the soup instead of spending so much on roasted meat? Emma didn't answer. Instead, he began eating his food, savoring the meat. Edith, still in shock, reached out to take a piece of the meat for herself. Before she could touch it, Emma slapped her hand away. What nonsense is that? He snapped, glaring at her. So you don't have respect anymore? Don't ever try that again in your life. Edith recoiled, her hand trembling. She couldn't believe what had just happened. The tears threatened to fall again, but this time, she held them back. She sat in silence, eating her watery soup while her husband feasted on his special meal. The only thought that echoed in her mind was wickedness, the wickedness of man. But then, she shook her head again. No. Emma is not wicked. This isn't who he is. Something is wrong. The devil is at work here, but I won't let him win, she resolved. The next morning, Edith woke up to find Emma already dressed and ready to leave the house. She sat up in bed, surprised to see him prepared so early. Honey, where are you going? She asked hesitantly. Emma gave her a cold glance and muttered out. I'll be back later. Then, without another word, he walked out, leaving Edith alone in their small, quiet room. Honey, good morning. Are you going out today? Edith asked gently, trying to start a conversation. Emma didn't even look at her. Instead, he reached into his pocket, pulled out some money, and placed it on the table. Take this. Use it to feed today. Don't worry about me. Edith picked up the money, but her hands froze midair when she counted it. 250 naira. She swallowed her shock, trying to sound calm. Thank you, honey, but I was thinking I should start antenatal. The pregnancy is already past 3 months, and since it's my first, I think I need medical care. Emma looked up briefly, his face impatient. I don't have money for that now, he muttered, then walked out of the house without another word, leaving Edith standing there, stunned. She shook her head, forcing herself not to cry. She got ready and left for Mama Chibue's shop, her only place of solace. Once there, she poured out her heart, narrating the events of the previous night and that morning. Mama Chibue listened, her face showing disbelief. Oh, this is strange. Oh. But let me ask you, Edith, did you even study this man before marrying him? Did you not see these signs? Because I'm sorry to say, my daughter, but this kind of behavior, it looks like wickedness. Oh. Edith sighed deeply, her voice trembling. Mama, it wasn't like this. I met him in church. We didn't court for long, but I knew him to be a good Christian. Plus, I got confirmation from God that he was my real husband. Mama scoffed, shaking her head. Church Christian, you say? HM. That's how they used to deceive you people. So because you met a man in church, you automatically think he's good. My dear, don't you know that character is different from religion? Somebody can be good and kind and not even be a Christian. Meanwhile, a so-called strong Christian can be as wicked as the devil himself. It all boils down to personality and upbringing. If the person is naturally wicked, if the wickedness has entered their blood, that one is one chance. Only God can flush that out. But let's pray that maybe it's just financial challenges making him act like this. Maybe he'll come around. Edith nodded slowly, her voice quiet. I am praying, Mama. I really am. He wasn't like this before. And the worst part, he doesn't talk. We can be in the same house the whole day and won't even have up to 30 minutes of conversation. He's so gentle, he doesn't seem like someone who could do such things. I just hope this phase passes soon. Facing all this while pregnant is heartbreaking. I just feel so alone. Mama Chiboy sighed, looking at Edith with pity. It is well, my dear. What about your family? Have you told them what you're going through? Maybe they can help. Edith looked away, her shoulders slumping. I only have my elder brother, Obi. But he's disowned me. He never wanted me to marry Emma, so I can't even go to him now. Mama raised her brows, clearly confused. Oh, but you just said you got several confirmations that Emma is your real husband. How come your brother wasn't in support? Edith sighed and finally explained everything in detail about Obi, Hugo, Emma, the pastor, and all the events that had led to her marriage. By the time she finished, Mama Chiboy nodded, her expression softening with understanding. So that's how it happened, Mama said, her voice thoughtful. Well, my dear, all I can say is, hold on to your faith. But while you're at it, you also need to prepare yourself. This life, it's not easy. Be wise, You need to find a way to take care of yourself and your baby. Don't depend on anybody completely, not even your husband. Edith nodded again, the advice sinking in. But deep down, she couldn't shake the hope that things would turn around. Thank you, Mama. I'll keep praying, she said quietly. And with that, she returned home, her thoughts heavy yet clinging to a glimmer of hope. Mama Chiboy sat back, deep in thought. This one is strong, she muttered softly, her eyes fixed on Edith. You lost your only family because of a man who hasn't even proven himself to you yet. Just because of the words of your pastor. Sometimes we humans can be sentimental and make mistakes. Edith remained silent, feeling the weight of Mama's words settle heavily on her heart. Mama Chiboy continued, her voice firm but gentle. Did you even stop to think back then that maybe Emma was the choice just because he attended your church? You said you knew Hugo better, you were friends with him for a longer time, and your brother approved of him. That should have been a plus. But instead, you followed your pastor's words and maybe even a Bible verse that was wrongly interpreted, twisted by both of you to fit your own desires. This is not good, Edith. From everything you've told me, Emma might be more than what you see. You're still fresh in marriage, and you're already facing this. What will happen when you have children? When you've been together for years? What if he refuses to let you work just to suppress you more? I see no reason why he would uproot you both from a community where you had a good life and a supportive environment, to a secluded place where you don't even know anyone. That's not right. Edith's heart raced as she tried to process everything Mama Chiboy said. Was she right? Had she been too quick to trust the pastor's word? Was Emma not who she thought he was? Mama Chiboy sighed, noticing the confusion and sadness in Edith's eyes. Okay, that's enough. Let's not cook up more problems with our imagination. What's done is done. Just go to the government hospital. I'll give you some money for transport. Go and make sure your baby is fine. That's the most important thing right now. Edith nodded, grateful for Mama's understanding and support. Thank you, Mama, she whispered, feeling a small weight lift off her shoulders. She stood up, ready to go. Today, she had to take care of herself and her baby. Whatever the future held with Emma, she would face it with strength. With that, she left for the hospital, determined to ensure her baby's well-being. As Edith walked to the bus stop, her mind couldn't help but replay everything Mama Chibwe had said. What if Emma really isn't the man I thought he was? She wondered. What if I made a huge mistake? The thought weighed heavily on her heart, but she quickly shook it off. She couldn't afford to let herself spiral into doubt now. The most important thing was to focus on the present, to get to the hospital and make sure her baby was okay. Thankfully, when she arrived at the hospital, everything checked out fine. She was just given routine medication to help her through the pregnancy. With a sigh of relief, Edith returned home, feeling a little more at ease. When she got back, she looked around their small apartment. There was rice, so with the little 250 naira Emma had given her, she bought some vegetables and crayfish. It wasn't much, but it was enough to make do. Deep down, Edith longed for a warm, comforting bowl of rice and pepper soup, but at this point, she knew better than to give in to her cravings. The crayfish was simple, but it worked as a source of protein. Later that night, when Emma returned, Edith was already feeling the weight of another long day. Emma didn't say much, he simply sat down and pulled out a big plate of catfish pepper soup. The rich aroma of the soup filled the room, and Edith's stomach growled in protest. It smelled so good, and she almost opened her mouth to ask for some. But when she saw the mean expression on Emma's face, she quickly silenced herself. Without a word, she returned to the bed and tried to force herself to sleep. But the hunger in her stomach and the pain in her heart were hard to ignore. This, Edith realized, was just the beginning of a harsh new reality. Each day seemed to bring a new pain, a new disappointment. Emma showed no remorse for the way he treated her, and she struggled to bear it all silently, especially as her pregnancy drew closer to the due date. By the time the baby was almost ready to arrive, Edith had nothing for the baby, and nothing for her own maternity care. She felt lost, unsure of what to do next. The situation felt hopeless, but that morning, as Emma prepared to leave the house again, something inside her snapped. Emma dropped a meager 200 naira on the table as he got ready to leave, as if it was all she needed to get by. Edith, on her knees, couldn't hold back her desperation anymore. Honey, please, she begged, her voice trembling. My due date is getting closer. I don't have anything in preparation for the baby. Please, I need money to buy some things. Emma looked at her coldly, about to walk out without saying a word. But something in Edith broke, and she couldn't stay silent any longer. If you don't give me money, I will have to go to the church and beg from the members. From the pastor, anyone, she shouted. I can't keep on dying in silence, Emma. Please. Her words hung in the air, desperate and raw, as Emma turned to leave, unaffected by her plea. But Edith's heart was racing. She knew this was the turning point. If she didn't stand up for herself now, she might never get the help she so desperately needed. Emma paused for a moment as he stood at the door, his hand still on the knob. It was almost as if he was considering Edith's words, the desperation in her voice. But then, without saying another word, he stepped out. Edith collapsed to the floor, tears pouring down her face. She had been holding everything in for so long, enduring the pain silently, hoping that one day it would all end. But it only seemed to get worse the more she tried to keep it together. In that moment, she didn't care about anything anymore. She knew she had to do something. She would find a way to borrow money, even if it meant going to the church on Sunday to beg for help. Someone, she hoped, would take pity on her. But to her surprise, Edith didn't have to go that far. That very afternoon, Emma returned home early, carrying a large bag. "Emma?" Edith asked, startled to see him back so soon. But what shocked her even more was the contents of the bag. Seeing the baby essentials, she couldn't find words to express her surprise. Before she could ask anything, Emma spoke. "Edith, I know I haven't been at my best lately," he said, his voice softer than she had heard in weeks. "I've been going through some things, but I don't want you to take my actions to heart. I just needed to get some things in order, and soon everything will be better." Edith stood frozen, unable to process what he was saying. He seemed different. She just nodded silently, looking through the many baby items he had brought. There were diapers, clothes, blankets, everything they would need for the baby. In addition to the baby things, Emma handed her some money. "Take this," he said. "Buy whatever you still need for the baby." Edith's heart softened. She couldn't believe this was happening. For a moment, she felt the warmth of hope rise in her chest. She thanked him, silently praying that this newfound kindness was the beginning of a lasting change in their marriage. Weeks later, Edith's labor began. Emma had left early that morning, and once again, she was alone. In a panic, she called Mama Chiboy, who rushed over with her husband and took Edith to the government hospital. Mama Chiboy quickly called Emma to inform him that his wife was in labor. "Come to the hospital quickly," she urged. Emma promised to come as soon as he could. Hours passed, and Edith gave birth to a healthy baby boy. But Emma still hadn't arrived. It was Mama Chiboy who went home, prepared a proper meal, and brought it back to Edith, who was famished and exhausted. Later that night, Emma finally showed up at the hospital. He apologized for being late, explaining that work and traffic had kept him. He thanked Mama Chiboy for helping Edith, then went to the reception to sort out the bills. As Emma left, Mama Chiboy couldn't hide the disgust she felt. "What did Edith even see in this man?" she muttered under her breath. "He's not even good looking, and his heart is just as ugly. What convinced her to marry him?" Days later, Edith was discharged from the hospital, and Emma arranged for a cab to take them home. Edith felt hopeful, thinking that maybe things had really changed. Maybe this time, Emma would be different, and they could finally begin their new life with their son. But as soon as they were alone in their home, the man she had hoped had changed returned to his old self. The warmth she had felt earlier quickly faded, replaced by the same indifference and distance she had grown so accustomed to. It seemed that, despite everything, nothing had really changed at all. Emma showed no care for Edith, nor did he show any concern for their newborn baby. As a breastfeeding mother, Edith needed proper nourishment and care, but Emma continued to neglect her. He refused to assist her in any way and didn't give her money to buy the food she needed. The only money he had given her before the baby was born was all she had left to fall back on. Then, one day, when the baby was only 2 months old, he suddenly fell terribly sick. His condition became so serious that he had to be admitted to the hospital. Edith, out of desperation, rushed him to the government hospital. After he was treated, they were told to stay longer for observation, but Edith couldn't pay the hospital bill. She tried calling Emma for help, but he ignored her calls and was nowhere to be found. Out of sheer embarrassment, Edith had no choice but to call the pastor's wife for help. The pastor's wife, seeing how desperate Edith was, offered the money. However, she couldn't help but worry. "Sister Edith, what is really going on?" she asked. "Since you and Brother Emma got married and moved away, we hardly see you at church anymore. Please, find a way to come see me. I want to speak with both you and your husband. I will let the pastor know. We need to talk." Edith swallowed hard, her throat tight with unease. She knew this was going to be difficult. She hadn't wanted to bring attention to her problems with Emma, especially not to the church, but she felt she had no choice. She agreed to meet with the pastor's wife, dreading the conversation that was sure to follow. Little did she know, things were about to take a turn for the worse. A few weeks later, Edith discovered the truth. Emma was having an affair with a woman named Hannah. When Edith found out, it felt like her world had crumbled. The pain and betrayal were unbearable. To make matters worse, Emma's affair led to Hannah running off with all his money. When Emma returned home, desperate and ashamed, he begged Edith for forgiveness. He promised to change, swearing that he had learned his lesson. But Edith had already had enough. She had endured too much and realized she no longer wanted to live this way. With her heart heavy but resolute, she gathered her baby and left the house. She returned to Hugo, who welcomed her with open arms. Edith's heart began to heal as she reconciled with her brother Obi as well, who had disapproved of her marriage to Emma from the start. Hugo, Obi, and Edith became a family again, finding strength and support in each other. Meanwhile, Emma's world fell apart. He lost everything, his money, his family, and his respect. Alone and regretful, he had no one to turn to, realizing too late the consequences of his actions. The moral of the story is clear: true love and respect in a marriage are built on trust, care, and mutual support. When these are broken, the foundation of the relationship crumbles. No one deserves to suffer in silence, and when a person shows no effort to care or provide, it is okay to walk away for your own well-being. We have come to the end of this story. I hope you enjoyed the story. If you did, share the story with your loved ones. Also, do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more interesting stories. Until then, bye.